If a seller wants a letter of intent, but it's owner occupied, so they can't give you any type of rent roll, right? Like they're not paying any rent, understandable. How do you price it, and do you use current market rents? Long story short, yes, we use current market rents, right? Like we try to get a gauge of what the seller should be paying, right? Like I'll give you an example. If they want to do a leaseback, you'll say like, okay, I'm guessing in this situation they would like to do a leaseback of some sort. What we will do is that I will say, how much can you afford to pay in rent? I will ask them that question first. I want them to say the first number. I want them to give me a gauge of where the heck their head's at. They tell us, let's say I'm willing to pay 10 grand a month in rent. Okay, great. So just to clarify, you're willing to pay $10,000 a month. Now I just want to clarify, is that the mindset you paying 10 grand a month and like that's the base rent, or that's what the check size is, right? Like you can just pay 10 grand, that's it. And I'm responsible for the taxes, insurance, and all the common area maintenance, utilities, and all that kind of stuff. Or what else would you be responsible for? I just want to get an understanding of what you feel comfortable with. Because I want them to be thinking, like sometimes they go, 10 grand a month, and they think triple net, right? Sometimes they think that way. No, I would pay the taxes, the insurance, the utilities, or common area, blah, 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 blah. Like some people just think like that because they've paid it in the past. Instead of just telling them, right? Like, no, you're going to pay triple net. I want them to say the first number, because also sometimes they will actually say above market, like sometimes it's around market value. So it's like, oh, okay, wow, you're willing, they're willing to pay, let's say 10 grand, and they're like, oh, I'll cover taxes, insurance, and utilities. I'm not going to cover landscaping and blah, 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 blah. If they say that, and let's say all of a sudden market value is like 11 or 12 grand gross, same exact concept, right? Or let's just say, 10 triple net, right? Them paying everything on top. So all of a sudden, like you're actually in a ballpark where it can make sense, right? So like I like to get a gauge of what they've possibly paid themselves in the past, especially sometimes because they pay themselves more. Oh, so what do you typically pay yourself? They always pay themselves something. So sometimes you can kind of just jump into that. That's one. Number two, you also just want to clarify like, hey, like, do you plan on staying or vacating, right? Did you want to lease it back or did you want to vacate? Because, if they want to vacate, they're not going to tell you they're going to pay you anything, right? So just, you want to get a clarification there. But long story short is obviously like if they're going to stay, you need to get a gauge of what they're going to pay and what current rents are. And if they're going to vacate, you can of course say like, okay, would you be open to taking an offer contingent upon getting the building leased out? Number two, what has been the most effective follow-up after you've emailed over a letter of intent? Do you wait 2 or 3 days to then give them a call or something different? Again, our process when we're presenting offers is never, ever, ever just send an email, okay? I literally was just working with someone recently. They're like, yeah, I sent over the letter of intent, and they responded with the word no, period. Right? I was like, listen, if you just send over an offer, that's what you're going to get a lot of the time, right? Like we don't just send an offer and cross our fingers. We don't do that. Whenever we're presenting an offer, we 100% of the time want to present it over the phone. And obviously if it's super local, you can go do it face to face, but I always recommend over the phone. This way you don't waste any time. Over the phone. And listen, if you want to email them, right? Because you get tempted like, oh, I have an offer. I got to email it to them. No. What you do is you email them, hey, I have an offer for you. Please give me a call at your earliest convenience or let me know when you're available to speak. So you coordinate a call to present the offer verbally. You don't want to just send over a letter of intent or you're literally just going to you're going to get a response that goes, no, period. I'm not interested, period. We don't want that. You need to be able to speak to them over the phone because you're always going to be able to handle objections way better on the phone. Now, let's just say they haven't answered you in a little bit. I want you to understand everything is fair game. Everything. Okay? I mean, I will call them almost every day. I will email them almost every day. I will send them text messages almost every day. I will send them video messages maybe once a week if necessary. You can send them a written card. You can friend them on freaking Facebook, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing. Everything is fair game. Right? At all costs, if you know the deal is this close to getting done, we find a way to get, to show up in their life. Go meet them face to face and shake a hand. Just show up at their office. Oh yeah, I was in the area and figured I'd stop by and shake your hand. You just drove an hour and 45 minutes, right? Like it just, right? So it's like that's the type of thing I would recommend.
Thank
all
you.
right? Especially if it's close. Like if it's close, at all costs, you make it happen. If it's like, you offer $2 million on $10 million, what are you really worried about?
I was doing some calls yesterday, and I ran into a multifamily 8-unit. And I was speaking to the owner. He seemed really irritated. And he's, seems like he usually get these calls, and he was like, "I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore." So I was like, "Can I get an email to at least give you an offer?" And then he just gave me the email and then hung up. So I wanna be. Okay. I have no information, no nothing, but I still want to be able to put an offer towards this.
Great. By a show of hands, how many people have gotten absolutely zero information from a seller and they say they want an offer? Okay, cool. You're not alone, Ryan. So listen, what you're going to do in the what I typically will do, because this is very common, is this you said this is a multifamily property or retail industrial? What is this?
Multifamily.
Okay, great. Guys, who wants to give us an answer? If it is a multifamily property and you have absolutely zero information, what kind of offer should you be giving? An offer based on what?
Previous sales, comps.
Okay, I mean, sure. Based on market price per door. Yeah, price per door. Perfect. Yeah, we do a very aggressive price per door offer. Exactly. Right? So if you have a deal, how many units is this? Do you even know?
8.
8 units. Great. So if we know that market value is, let's say, off the top of your head, what do you think market value is? If you're going to say this property is going to sell, on the market at X price per door, what would it be?
Top of my head, I'd say 150. Let's go for 150.
All right, great. 150. Let's just say that that's around what market value is in your area, okay? So 150, 8 doors, right? That means it's about 1.2 million bucks, okay?
Right.
What would be a price that this property could sell for all day long? It would sit on less than a day on market. Like, what is an unbelievable price per door?
I say bring it down to 125.
Okay, I was even thinking like 100 or 80, right? But I'm just saying, like, sure, like, but I'm saying, like, you want to be aggressive, right? So you can submit an offer for 800 grand on this deal, and all day long, right? All day long, every day of the week, that's a great deal, right? Great. So you should submit an offer for 800.
Got it. Okay.
Right? You don't need to have a ton of information on any property in order to make an offer. I just need to know exactly where market value is, and then I'm going to come substantially below it to make sure that I can't lose money. Okay?
Okay.
And this works for, by the way, same thing if it was retail, industrial, or anything else, right? You just find what market price per square foot is in that regard, not price per unit, but price per square foot. And we do the same thing. So if we know it's 150 bucks a square foot, I would offer 80 bucks a square foot.
Will do.
Right.
Thank you.
You got it. Kevin also says use rents performer to do some numbers based off of what he can find online. Yeah, I mean, look, if you know your market, right, it makes it a lot easier, right? Like, and obviously I would tell you to do some homework, do some research. Every single property you're going to come across, you're going to have to do some homework to some extent to understand the value. You don't just want to guess, right? The worst thing you can possibly do is guess. I'd rather you take an extra week to submit an offer on a property than just randomly guess and make some stupid offer. You want to at least do your homework, get a gauge, and know for sure, oh, okay, got it. 80 per door is an unfucking believable price. Awesome, let's go for it. And by the way, keep in mind, a lot of you are also in the same market as someone else in this area, in this community. So you can write in the chats, right, on the WhatsApp groups, hey, I have a new deal in XYZ area. What would you offer, right? Or who here has a buyer for a multifamily in XYZ area? So just keep in mind, you can leverage each other's, support. All right, let's keep going. Again, if you guys have any other questions, you can feel free to raise your hand and we'll dive into more questions. Alan, I know you had submitted a bunch of questions, which I always appreciate. I want to give you as much value as possible, so thank you for submitting more questions. You say, Alan, let's say you have a 20-unit building, 10 units are rented currently for $1,000 a unit, and then the other 10 units are vacant. On the spreadsheet, I put 10 at $1,000, correct? And then you have 10 on a separate line item. Yep, that makes sense. Rented in 12 months, correct? So it'd be zero income to start, and will be rented in 12 months. So I can see what the current NOI is, and then you'll see the obviously increased net operating income in 12 months. That makes sense. Yes, 100%. You are correct. Second question is based off of this, is the offer, the LOI, is that purely based off of today's net operating income, or do you factor in the fact that you have the 12 months? Here's the thing. I would love to buy it for today's NOI, right? Buying a good deal off today's NOI is a fantastic thing, right? If it's bringing in, let's just say, that's 10 grand a month, 120 gross, let's say it's 70,000 net or something like that, and you could buy it for hypothetically a 7 cap or an 8 cap based off of current operating income, that's a spectacular deal. Now, obviously, if they're factoring in the upside, then you kind of have to as well. Do you know what they want for this building, by the way?
I've got a similar situation to this. These aren't the correct numbers. I had one yesterday, and the guy was like, our exit strategy, he's got 18 units. He's like, I want 115 grand a unit. 8 are rented, 10 are not. I haven't done any more research than that, but I'm just like, to your point, if I give him a number based on purely what it cash flows today, he's probably going to laugh at me. So, like, do you sort of split the difference? Like, where do you go with that? Because again, he'll just wait a year, right? And just do it himself.
So you have to keep in mind this. If you guys have a building, like let's just take a multifamily property, let's take 20 units, 10 of them are occupied, 10 of them are vacant, right? This happens on occasion. We come across it. You have to think about it from the lending perspective. You're probably not going to be able to get financing for anything reasonable, right? Someone's going to have to put down, and let's just say it's 115 a door across 20 units. What is that? 300 is that? So 2.3 million bucks. And let's just say in this instance, I'm just trying to use the same example here. You have 10 units that are occupied at $1,000 a piece. That's again 10 grand a month times 12. That's 120 per year as current current gross income. And obviously, it could be bringing in, let's say, another, pro forma value. Every unit could be rented for $1,200, right? If you cleaned them all up, okay? And then you could have, so that's 10 more units at $1,200 a piece. That's 12 grand on top of that, and the other ones have to be increased over time. So in 2 years from today, you could be at $1,200 across the board. If there's, let's just say, not, you could, raise the rents. There's not a lot of rent control in this area, as an example. So you got 20 units, $1,200 a piece, which comes to what? 24 grand or something like that. I think it's 24 grand. So you have 24,000 in gross income per month. 24,000 times 12 is 288,000 a year. 288 a year puts you at probably, let's say, a net operating income of like $180. You have 180,000, call it about 100, call it a third in expenses roughly. So you have around 180,000 net operating income at an 8% cap rate. Where does that put you at? Like 2.4 million, something like that. 2.2, 2.4 million. What happens is that all of a sudden you kind of start running these numbers in your head and you're like, yeah, this guy wants $2 million. It's only gonna be worth 3 in 3 years, right? So it doesn't make any sense. Like we're just not even in the right ballpark. But if hypothetically, Alan, on that 18 unit, same exact type of concept, right? What do you think a unit should rent for?
In that market, I only did a little bit of research, but it's not even, we're not talking condos. It's like little garage units. It's $750 a month.
Okay, great. So guys, really fast, okay? Very fast math in your heads, okay? Think of it like this. If you have a unit that rents for $750 a month, and they want $115 a door, there is an almost impossibility of making money. You want to be as close to a 1-to-1 factor as possible, right? I mean, a 1% rule, right? At a minimum, guys, like at a minimum. Because think about it, if he wants one, like we just talked about, $115 a door, and the building only generates $1,100 in rent, which is just about a 1-to-1 rule. It's not exact, but pretty damn close, right? The property is barely worth what you're paying for it today in the future. So, like, for you to have any amount of value opportunity, I'll give you an example. The reason why I bought a 10 unit a while ago, I was buying it for 135 grand a door, but average market rent in that area right now in my building is over 2 grand. I bought it for a 135 a door, and my average rent today is over $2,000. That's where major value add comes from. That's how you make, substantial returns on your deals. So if you're buying it for 115 a door, the price per unit rent-wise should be $1,200 minimum to even get a conversation started, right? To make some serious money. If it's $1,600, I mean, imagine if it was $1,600 per in rent, right? $115 a door would be a steal. But when you're paying $115 a door and the average rent in the building $750, right? And the highest market rent is maybe $800 or $900, I would tell you it'd be very hard to make any money there.
So the offer, do you kind of base it on, like, if everything works out well and in 2 years it's fully occupied, like that's your number? Or you don't base it off today's number, right? Because it's just a steal.
Remember, here's the thing. We want steals, number one. Okay.
He doesn't.
Right? And that's fine, right? Just keep in mind, like, again, we're testing motivation. If he doesn't have a drastic motivation, that's one thing, right? They're not, keep this in mind, guys. Buying a very good deal and the seller's motivation have nothing to do with each other. I want to buy a great deal. The seller's not motivated. Doesn't mean I'm going to overpay and buy a bad deal. Like, we want a good deal no matter what, right? Like, that's how deals get done. I don't care how not motivated this guy can be. I'm still offering this because this makes sense. This doesn't change because he's a lunatic or seller's not motivated or whatever it is, right? So, just keep in mind they're two completely separate things. Now, obviously his response might not be favorable, but like, I'm still going to offer here anyways because I got to price anchor him at a price that makes sense.